Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see how you can extend the capabilities of AgilePoint NX Platform. Every client environment is different and it is not the case of one size fits all. For a low-code product to be considered enterprise grade, it needs to have a solid platform architecture which is highly extensible so that the clients who get onto this platform do not hit a roadblock pretty soon and the product gels in well with rest of their architecture. Just providing robust out-of-the-box features is not enough, and client teams look for extension points eventually. AgilePoint NX provides a highly extensible platform with an extension layer which can be used by both business as well as developers. Think of AgilePoint NX as a robust platform rather than just out-of-the-box feature set. There are around 8 extension points which we will be going through over the next few minutes. So the first extension point I want to discuss is form level extension. As you guys might already be aware that AgilePoint NX forms are purely HTML5 and jQuery, and good thing is you don't need to learn any custom scripting language around it. And that is why you can take complete control over your form as well. We provide you a JavaScript injector and a CSS injector to take complete control over your form. You can override default styles, or you can even override default behavior with your own JavaScript if you are a developer. So if I bring this up, there's a JavaScript injector over here and it supports IntelliSense as well. So for example, if I type this, I can say I want to subscribe to an eForm event, and if I press Control space, it brings up what is available to me. So I'm making less mistakes as well. Now the JavaScript and CSS both can be localized JavaScript or CSS for this form only, or you can share it across multiple forms. So you can do that as well. So that's the first level of extension. Now moving on, the second level of extension is at the process layer. Out of the box, AgilePoint provides integration with around 70 plus different systems with 700 plus workflow actions at the time of recording this video. This is already pretty comprehensive and most of the people do not have to create any custom workflow activities. But in case they have an homegrown, say, ERP system or something which they don't see over here and they want to create a new integration, they can do so. We provide an SDK with which you can easily create and publish the activity and it immediately starts appearing over here. So for that, as a developer, I can get onto AgilePoint Developer, which is an add-in on top of Visual Studio. You can say create a new project over here. One of the categories, if you have installed AgilePoint Developer, you will see a new category called AgilePoint and it provides you a whole lot of templates. Agile part is nothing but a system activity, just like integration to any other system. Agile work is a human activity and we'll see rest of the templates later in the demo. So for now, I'm going to concentrate on Agile part. When I click OK, it generates the boilerplate template for me, where I have to just plug in my to-do sections. So it generated the whole project structure for me. I have a design time folder and each of these folders have sample code generated as well. So there is a sample HTML, JavaScript, whatever and which shows you ways of accessing each control type. So if you drill down into one of these, you'll see there are a whole lot of samples which you can see in case you are writing this as a developer. So accessing a radio button versus accessing a text box or a drop down, they're all listed over here. Similarly on the HTML, you will see the same thing as well. It gives you a basic as well as advanced sample, and you can see advanced fields over here in that case. Once I've done the design time, the main part runtime is, as you can see, design time is more HTML5 jQuery thing and runtime is C#. And if I drill down into it, I can obviously put the name of my agile part over here, description, and all I have to implement is then the to-do part of it. And once I'm done, I can just right click on it and I can say create agile part deployment package. It starts appearing over here on the in the browser. So now the package is done, pops it up. Here is a package, I can take it and deploy it. Now the third level of extension is at the data model level. AgilePoint with its version 7.0 supports the concept of data entity. Out of the box, it comes with around 35 different entities, which are the commonly used ones, but you can create your own data models as well. You don't have to be a SQL developer to know how to create SQL tables. You don't even need access to SQL tools. You could just go get in over here. You can name your entity. You can give it a primary key column. You can define your primary key field type, whether it is published or not, whether auditing is enabled, permissions are enabled, and you can just go ahead and click create entity, and you can start adding more data fields to it. So for example, if I wanted to add an email field, I can go ahead and quickly do that. Then the phone field. So it's that quick. So you can actually just quickly generate your whole data model, and behind the scene this is generating a database table for you. But then you don't need to use those SQL tools to do this. But at the same time, it also gives you a high level of security as well. So with SQL, you would be defining the table, but then you don't have a security layer on top of it, which says that okay, who can access the record or not. With this, it comes with that. So you can say who can read the records out of my entity, or edit the records, or create records, or delete records, or who can change the design or add new columns to these entities, or who can give other people permission to these entities. So you can do all that. So that's the third layer of extension. Now I can define tables, I can create comprehensive master detail kind of relationship between the tables as well. So I can say, uh, for example, account, parent entity is account, child field name is account ID. So I can do all that right over here. So I'll just say bind it to account name created over here. So as you can see, a parent-child relationship is created. So I can do all this. The fourth level of extension over here is the portal level extension. Now out of the box, here is how the portal looks like. But with a new component called Page Builder, you can get into this. And you can start designing your own custom pages. Or you can even define your own menus as well. So for example, if you go over here to the menus, I have these different menus defined for different pages. So I can create menus, I can create my CSS and menus over here. So I say, for example, I define a menu over here. It's all drag and drop. And I call it Waxo Furniture, and I'm going to use it on my furniture page. So if I bring up the page over here, as you can see at the top, it has its own menu. So let me check this out. And as you can see, it has its own menu, and even AgilePoint menu is listed over here. So I can completely customize the look and feel of my portal as well. I can make this the home page of my portal without having to write a single line of code. So the custom menu, the AgilePoint out of the box menu at the top went away, and I have all this with charts and all the widgets available. I can do it over there. Just to give you an idea of the flexibility of this component, if I go over here and say add a new page called demo, add a row, add a widget, it provides you a whole lot of widgets, things like buttons, forms, e-forms, headings, raw HTML, reports, media types like audio, videos, image carousels, different kind of card layouts like profile cards, animation cards. But one of the things, if you see at the top, is eForms. Using eForms widget component or widget builder, you can create unlimited widgets. Think of it that way. So for example, if my announcements are stored in an external system like a SharePoint or Salesforce or SAP, I can read it off it, create a quick widget without a submit and a cancel button, and embed it on my portal page. So think of it that the eForm thing is bringing in unlimited widgets for you with our widget template. Next, the fifth level of extension is the mobile layer. AgilePoint provides a unique capability, which is mobile app accelerator over here, where you can create custom branded mobile apps. So let me drill down into one of my existing apps. Now, it is very difficult for enterprises to go out and tell every employee that, you know what, go to the App Store and download an app called AgilePoint. Go to Apple or Android App Store and do that. Now, we do provide a generic app which is available in those app stores, but we provide you a way that you can brand it under your own company's branding guidelines and host it with your company's branding. So, for example, over here I said my app would be called this. Here is the version, here is the default locale, so that my users don't have to do all this, right? Even I can specify what is my URLs, what authentications would be available to my users, so that users are not making any of these changes. They are not asked to work with any of the technical stuff. I can specify what level of filters are, what applications are visible. Either I can say, show me all the applications or only specific applications within my mobile device. So I can generate one for HR department, one for finance department, kind of thing. I can even customize my menu options. I can rename them, I can hide them. Then I can specify for which platforms is it going to be generated. I can say generated for Apple, Android, and Windows Store. Within that platform as well, I can specify whether it's a private store, public store, or a device specific build. So I can do all that, those kind of things. I can specify my own styling, like change the colors on the app itself. You can even have custom colors over here using the custom option. I can upload the artwork. So instead of seeing the AgilePoint logo, it will show me my company's logo on various places, depending on the operating system. And at the end, I just click on build. So with just few points and clicks, I can generate my own custom branded mobile app. So that's the fifth level. The sixth level of extension I want to talk about is the API layer. Oftentimes, companies have existing applications and they want to workflow enable these applications. And AgilePoint provides a very robust uh, API layer as well. Everything you saw in our API is or our UI is actually through our own API. So if you go to our documentation site, there is a web service API, which is a SOAP API, and a REST API. And for each method, there are like hundreds or thousands of it, I would say thousands of it, which you will find over here. You can drill down into it. You'll say, for example, if you want to kick off a workflow, so create process instance. If you drill down, it will tell you this is of type REST, what REST verb is it going to use, what is the URL format, what are the various parameters and their default values. But then we have a JavaScript sample of doing this, a Java sample, a C# sample, and a CURL sample. So it is pretty comprehensive, and it also tells you what is the response structure. Now this all is good, and at the same time I can do the same thing for web services guide. So if I'm one of those .NET developers and I want to, instead of REST, do a more strongly typed call, I can go into process instances, create process instance. The same method, if you see, it has the method signature, now more the non-URL kind of a thing, all the parameters listed, and a C# sample of doing it, and since which version it was supported. But on top of it, we also support, we have Swagger enabled this as well. So I can quickly test it right over here instead of having to go to Postman or something else. So I can authorize my endpoint. I can say, here are the various APIs which are available. So for example, if I had to do something like get all the registered users, I can specify my input parameters and I can then say, try it out. So it goes back to the server right over here in my browser. It tells me the CURL over here as well. And it shows me here is the response structure coming back. Here are the registered users. So I can make use of the Swagger interface as well. Now, because of that, you can create even thick client or non-AgilePoint kind of applications like JSP or ASP.NET kind of applications. So here is an example. Here is a WinForm or a WPF application, a simple one which I have created. If you see, I'm not using AgilePoint's task list. I'm using a custom task grid over here. I'm just making the use of API calls. I can do things like I can bring a process viewer. I can reassign the task. I can open the selected task as well. So as you can see, using the API, I can create entirely custom UI as well. So let me close this. Now, the next level of extension I wanted to talk about was more of a dashboard level extension. Now, this is where end users are going to spend a whole lot of time, and oftentimes people want it to have the customized dashboards for different teams. Now with the page builder, which I showed you earlier, you can create pages for those teams, and one of the widgets, as I showed you over here, is work centers. You can create these, add these different pages for different teams, and you can expose different tabs and different columns. AgilePoint does support a concept of custom tabs and custom columns. If you see over here, one of my tabs is order management, and I have custom column listed over here called customer name. Now this is a paid component, it's an add-on component, so I'm going to show you how it looks like. Once you have that component, you go to tab settings. You start seeing a new section over here where you can start adding custom tabs. You can even hide out of the box tabs as well. So over here I said my custom tab header is this. Show me only tasks for this particular application. I can have multiple application filters over here. What is the base view I want to use? Is it my task, in queue, process I started, or processes I've worked on? And then I can start hiding or showing out of the box columns. I can say don't show priority, for example. And for performance reason, do I want to say enable dynamic loading, like only load the rows which are shown in the current view, or load everything? And or do I want to make this the default tab? Also, I can add custom columns to my tabs, right? So you see over here, I said add a custom column called customer name whose value is stored at the following path in the process schema. Give it 50 pixel width, make it the first column. And as you saw in my tab, it was the first column over here, and it is visible. So I can add custom columns and custom tabs as well. But not just that, you can even actually, and I had covered this in one of the other blog posts I had, you can even add your own custom actions over here. If you click on it, you can have your own custom actions show up over here as well. There's a whole framework for that, which is covered in one of the other blog posts. Now last I want to cover is server level extension. If I go back to my Visual Studio, go over here, I'll close this. If I go to File, New, Project, one of the project types you see over here is Agile Connector. Agile Connector is a server level listener. So AgilePoint has an event publisher subscriber mechanism that everything which takes place on the AgilePoint server side, an event is raised, which you can subscribe to. It can actually even subscribe to external events like a file drop or incoming email as well. And that's how we do our event services. But this connector component can be pretty powerful. So for example, if you don't like my out-of-the-box exception handling, or you don't like the out-of-the-box SMTP handler, you can completely overwrite it as well. So for example, if I say create a new server level module, Agile Connector, this will be of type event listener type. I can also do polling type connector as well, where it polls external systems like a database. And if you see over here, let me close this. If you see over here, I can specify for which applications is it running. By default, it is star. And what event do you want to subscribe to? So if I put a dot over here, you see there are hundreds of events which are listed over here. One of them is process instance faulting. So if there is an exception in an workflow, it gives me a handle of it, and I can handle it over there. Here. So I can completely override engine's default behavior as well. So as you saw, AgilePoint comes with a whole lot of extension points which people can use. Also, one more thing I wanted to point out is on the dashboard level, it is not just limited to this dashboard. You can actually go to user statistics, which is the reporting part of the screen, and you can expose custom reports over here as well. So once you have created the reports, the dashboard is completely extendable. You can say edit layout, and I can start adding new custom tabs over here. Say one, I can add my custom reports which are available to me at the global level, and click save. And once I have the tab added, I can go in over here, I can resize it as well. So over here I've already resized it, so you see I can see my custom reports over here as well. Thanks a lot.